Hi everyone, this is Tanya Gibbs from Psycho Mom Scrapbooks and More. And when I made the two Plaper tutorials, I left out a step because of the time constrictions, and I've had a lot of emails about it, so I'm going to go over that step. What we did was, okay, we're at the point now where we've already cut our Plaper. And I have a piece here that's already cut out. It's a flower. Now you want to cut this 4 times. I think I left that information out too to make the rose. You can cut it 3 to 4 times. I like 4 because I like it to be a little bit more thicker. And this is the rose that we made from that tutorial. In part 2, I went straight to having all of the pieces laying out, and I forgot to tell you how we got the color and the texture onto the cuts. What I used was my Cuttlebug, and the embossing jacket that I used was called Floral Fantasy. And then here's another little tip too while we're at it. The Cuttlebug folders do not come with the name of the folder on it, and a lot of people always ask, well, you know, what folder was that you used? I went through with a Sharpie and wrote the name on the top of the folder so that I would always have that information if anyone ever asked. So this one is called Floral Fantasy. And all you do is you take your die cut, and you can do this technique with paper, anything. It doesn't have to be this paper. You can use anything. This is just a simple embossing technique. So you're just going to take that and place it inside the jacket. It doesn't matter which direction. Just make sure that if your paper is double-sided, the side that you want up is actually when it says Cuttlebug on the front of the folder right here, you want to make sure that the side that is supposed to be facing you is towards that side. So that, because whenever you emboss, you are actually pressing an image into something and giving it texture. So if you want the downside up, then I think it's the downside up goes into it's the back of the paper, and the upside would be the front of the jacket. I don't anyway, experiment with that before you ruin your project. But you're going to take the sandwich, make your sandwich, you're going to use the A, and then you're going to use a B, and then you're going to put your embossing jacket with your project inside of it, and then you're going to also put another B plate on top of that. So that's your sandwich, A, B, B. Now, you can use the Sizzix, you can use any die cutting machine that you have that enables you to run an embossing jacket through it. I happen to have the Cuttlebug. I also have a Sizzix. So anyone would work. You know, I don't know about the other systems. I just have those two. So experiment. Also, I have this tile down, and my Cuttlebug, whenever I set it, it doesn't rock because it's a suction to this tile. This is a great tip if you have a non-hard surface like these plastic tables. Get a 18 by 18 or a 24 by 24 tile and put it right on top of it. So anyway, you're going to put your hand here and twist the crank, and it's going to run through, and you might hear it pop, and that's okay if you do. And when it comes out the other side, you have a textured piece. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but you can kind of tell there's some texture on there. So you decide which side you want up, and I want the side that's raised up. It really doesn't matter at this point because you're going to use whichever one you want. I mean, you're going to color both sides. Let me get this out of the way so you can see what's going on. Then you're going to take your Plaper. And another reason I use these tiles is because I don't have to buy a healing mat or anything. I can stamp right on them. They clean right up with a Clorox wipe. So in this particular pattern for this rose, I used the Distressing ink from Tim Holtz, and it's the Aged Mahogany. And all I did, and I'm not going to be super careful with this because I do not care, because you're only going to see the petals. So I just rub this across, back and forth, just like this. And I just make sure that everything that I want covered is covered. You know, give it a good rub. The harder you press, the darker the color. Now, I like the white with the burgundy, so I left it like this. But if you wanted to achieve a look like this, where you've got more colored in, then all I did was take a cosmetic sponge, just a regular wedged cosmetic sponge, and I dipped it into this ink and rubbed it all over to get it in. And again, the harder pressure you apply, the darker the color gets. So it just kind of filled in that negative space that wasn't filled in on this one. Now on my flowers, because you're going to see them from both sides, I roll it over and do the same thing. Now you could use a different color. You could use multiple colors on the back. It doesn't matter. I know there are several roses that are white on one side and red on the other, or you know, pick different colors to match your projects, because when you curl these flowers, as you can tell from the sample, I don't know where I laid it down, but as you can tell from the sample, you see both sides. So you want to make sure that you cover both sides. It doesn't matter what color you use. Be creative. So on this one, I'm going to color the back side. Now there's one more tip too that I failed to mention that I noticed after I had made the videos, and that is on your Cricut. Once you've cut the Plaper out, remove the blade. Be very careful because it's sharp. Oh, and here's another thing. I store my ink pads upside down so the ink comes to the surface. But there you go. That's all there is. Now on the tip, what I did was I removed my blade after I cut my Plaper, especially if you happen to cut over the masking tape. I just remove my blade and then press the button that's at the top of the blade. And if there's any fibers or anything that are hooked around this blade, I go ahead and remove them. Be very careful because that blade is sharp. And then I just put my housing unit back into the Cricut. Thank you for your time. Hope this answers your questions.